It's time, let's start talking about the classes in Kobold Press's Tales of the Valiant. Quick recap, Tales of the Valiant is a TTRPG created by Kobold Press, and it is basically to 5th edition D&D what Pathfinder was to 3.5 back in the day with Paizo. Now, Tales of the Valiant is not just some 5e supplement, it is its own standalone gaming system, and as such, it has a full class roster to choose from. Even though some of them may look or sound familiar, I promise you there are some differences, and that's what these videos are going to be going through. Each class will get its own video, and we will just cover them as they appear alphabetically throughout the book. Let's see what we got. Now, Artificers, I know I said we're going in alphabetical order through the classes. Don't worry, there's a brand new, nice, shiny toy that you can play with later on in this book, but for now, we're starting with the Barbarian. Feel free to pause, but I am just going to start going through the information that we have at hand. You get a D12 for your hit dice. You get martial weapons, of course. You also get light armor, medium armor, and shields. Saves are strength and con, and you get to choose 2 skills from right here, but some of the subclasses may help influence which of these you will choose at the get-go. In case you're wondering, this artwork does, yes, mean that you can play a Bearfolk Barbarian just off the cuff. Feel free to pause and read the starting equipment. But let's check out the Rage, because that's what we're here if we're wanting to play a Barbarian. It's a lot of the standard Rage stuff. When you Rage, you have advantage on ability checks and saves. You get to add some extra Rage damage that stacks as you go up in levels. We'll see it on the table next. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. You can't cast spells or concentrate. Your rage lasts for a minute. It ends early if you're knocked unconscious, or if your turn ends without being attacked by a hostile creature or taking damage in some way. You can also end it as a bonus action, and you have another times per day that are on the table below me that let you know how many times that you can do it. Another first level ability is Unarmored Defense. If you are not wearing any armor, your AC equals 13 plus your con modifier, and you can also add a shield bonus on top of that to kind of boost things up a little bit more. Quick note, you do not add your dex to your AC if you are using Unarmored Defense. At level 2, you get Danger Sense, where you have an uncanny sense of impending danger. You have advantage on dex saves while you are not blinded, deafened, or incapacitated. At level 2, you also gain Reckless Attack, which lets you attack recklessly. And so while you get advantage on your attack rolls, attacks incoming towards you also get advantage because you are kind of throwing caution to the wind. Feel free to pause and check the table below me if you want to see the basic progression of the Barbarian in this. At level 3, you pick your subclass, and then at levels 3, 7, 11, and 15, you get a subclass feature. At levels 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19, you get an improvement and choose one of these options. Increase 1 ability score by 2, increase 2 scores by 1, or increase 1 score by 1 and pick a talent or feat. Continuing right along, at 5th level, you get the familiar looking fast movement, where you can add 10 feet to your movement speed. Also, when you roll initiative, you can immediately move up to half your speed. At 5th level, you also gain multi-attack, where if you choose to take the attack action, you can make 2 attacks. At 6th level, you gain Feral Instinct, so you gain advantage on your initiative rolls. Also, if you are caught by surprise and not incapacitated, you get to act during the surprise round. At 9th level, you get Brutal Critical, where your crit range increases to 19 to 20. Likewise, you also get extra dice to roll when you roll your critical hit damage, and then at levels 13 and 17, that dice amount increases plus 1 dice each time to have 3 extra dice rolling for that critical hit damage. Now, all classes in Tales of the Valiant get a heroic boon at level 10, and you take one of 2 choices, and I love this part of the game. You can choose Instant Rage, where you just rage as soon as initiative starts and you use fast movement, or you can choose Stubborn Rage, where it only ends when it expires, you fall unconscious, or you choose to end it. There's no other way that the rage can be dropped. Now, I will say off the cuff, Instant Rage seems like the right choice to make, but I know that there are ways that you can absolutely make Stubborn Rage broken as all shit. Now, at level 14, you get Relentless Rage, which is one of my favorite features. It lets you shrug off even lethal wounds. If you drop to 0 hit points, you can roll a DC 10 con save. On a success, you don't fall unconscious until your rage ends. If you take damage from a single source equal to your hit point maximum, you still die outright as per the rules normally. But even if you fail 3 death saving throws during your rage, you only die if you end your turn with 0 hit points. So if you have healers or options kind of keeping you up, you can maintain this. Now, if you do drop to 0, you can try to trigger this effect again, but the DC raises by 5. And each time you drop to 0 and have to like push through that, if you still have a rage that you can burn, the DC keeps upping, but it makes you kind of stay up and just defy death through pure rage. At level 18, you get Unyielding Might. If you roll a strength or a con save and the result is a 9 or lower, you can count it as at least having rolled a 10 on the dice. Also, your melee weapon attacks deal extra damage equal to your strength modifier to objects and structures. You can see the very top of that, but the 20th level Barbarian feature, the epic boon, is called Primal Champion. You can raise your con and strength scores each by 4, and the max cap that either can be reached for you is 24. Now let's look at those subclasses. Now each class only has a few options for subclasses. Again, it's just the first player's handbook that has come out. It is 5e compatible, like I said, so converting things should be fairly simple. Keep in mind that the Tails subclasses do have 4 options that they do get at levels 3, 7, 11, and 15. But without any more preamble, let's look at the Berserker subclass for the Barbarian. At 3rd level, they get Frenzy and Ruthless Bearing. They get Mindless Rage at 7. They get Intimidating Presence at 11. And at 15th, they get Retaliation. Your starting feature for Berserker at level 3 is Frenzy. When you go into a rage, you can choose to go into a Frenzy as well, which means when you are in a rage, you can take an extra free attack as a bonus action. At level 3, you also get Ruthless Bearing, which gives you proficiency in the Intimidation skill. If you already have proficiency, you can double that proficiency. At level 7, you get Mindless Rage, which provides a number of boons when you enter your rage. If your character has any levels of exhaustion, when you enter your rage, you no longer feel the effects of that exhaustion. If you are being charmed or frightened, while you are in the rage, you are no longer under the effects of that charm or fright. If you drop the rage, the effects come back. And lastly, if you score a critical hit that drops a creature to 0 hit points, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your player bonus plus your con mod. And those last until they're expended or you finish a short or long rest. Intimidating Presence deals extra damage to frightened creatures. You can also attempt to frighten creatures in your area and extend that fear through your turns. At 15th level, you get Retaliation, which is just bonkers. If a creature hits or misses an attack at you, you can immediately use your reaction to move up to half your speed and make a single melee attack against them. Oh, and if the creature is large or larger, that attack is made at advantage. Now on to Wild Fury, which is kind of like the Totem Barbarian. Their abilities are Animal Focus, Nature's Cunning, Primal Aspect, Ferocious Howl, and Empowered Rage. At level 3, you get your first Animal Focus. The first choices are Alligator, Bear, Tiger, and Toad. They're all really cool. I suggest you pause to read them. You also gain the Wild Fury feature, which gives you proficiency in animal handling. If you already have that, you gain double your proficiency. At 7th level, you get Primal Aspect, where you get to choose a second animal that you kind of mimic the abilities of, and those choices are Hawk, Lizard, Turtle, and Wolf. At 11th level, you get Ferocious Howl, where all allies who hear you howl within 60 feet gain advantage on saves, checks, and attack rolls until the start of your next turn. And your 15th level ability is Empowered Rage, where you choose the final animal that kind of grants you your unique abilities, and the choices are Crane, Ram, Shark, and Snake. It does also mention that if none of these animals are ones that the character would have encountered or be familiar with to inspire their style of fighting, to just reskin them using the mechanics, for example, like a boa constrictor instead of an alligator, a lion for a tiger, etc. That's it for the Barbarian right now for Tales of the Valiant. I'm sure there are going to be supplements and other options. Like I said, this is 5e compatible, so if you want to try and convert a 5e subclass that you really like or some other third-party publisher, it will not be very difficult to move it over to the Tales system. Like I said before, I'm a big fan of the heroic boons that all the classes get to choose at level 10. I can't wait to show off what the other options are in future videos. I know this video was a little bit longer than what I normally do, and I appreciate y'all sticking around and checking it all out. I will be getting to the Monster Vault Monsters, the sort of base monster book for Tales of the Valiant, and that will be more of the familiar kind of short-form, quick-paced videos, so keep your eyes peeled out for that as well. Also, check out my Linktree for some cool links and how you can follow me on all different platforms. And as always, don't forget to love each other and keep on questing.